Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Mark your calendars, people. Sunday, October 20th. That's the premiere of HBO's highly anticipated Watchmen. A captivating, bold, new story set in an alternate history where superheroes are treated as outlaws. The show embraces the nostalgia of the original, groundbreaking graphic novel of the same name, while charting a fresh course and attempting to break new ground of its own. Joining me in just a few short moments, more masters and legends than I can count. Folks, the creators and cast of HBO's Watchmen are here. Are you excited about that? Because I am. Okay. Sounds like you're pretty hyped as well. We're going to bring them out in just a moment, but first, I believe we have a trailer for the show, so let's go ahead and run that clip. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, a ridiculous amount of noise. Creators and cast of Watchmen right here. Come on. Exactly. My sentiments exactly. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Congratulations. I was singing your praises for this show backstage, and I'm excited to do it for the next 25 to 30 minutes and talk to you as much as we can about it. So wonderful. So exciting. How are you all doing right now? This is day one, I believe, right, of the big circus. This is it. We are the starting line right here. Here we go. How are we feeling so far coming out of the gate? Excited?
Fantastic. Very exciting. Yes.
Perfect. Regina, look at you.
I am excited. I am nervous, terrified, excited, everything at the same time.
Great. Jeremy, yourself, how are you feeling?
Well, I'm just blown away sitting this close to Regina. That's it's the most fun I've had all day. I've been closeted in a padded room today, talking to people, and this is wonderful to get out and sit next to a leopard.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you guys are in such a great place. Like I said, we're going to talk as much as we can and not reveal anything about this amazing show because you have worked very hard to put all the pieces together the way you have. I'm going to start with you, Damon. I had Frank Miller here yesterday, and I was talking to him about his work on Superman, and I was thinking about you reading your letter to the fans that you wrote when this first kind of was announced. And I'm curious how, when you approach a project that holds such reverence, not just for you, but for the fans, how do you navigate those pressures internally and externally coming into something like this?
I first read Watchmen when I was 13 years old. My dad handed me the first 2 issues, and he said, "You're not ready for this." And then he walked out of the room. And never spoke to me again.
And that was it. That was the last time I read
yeah,
that.
No. So this was so much more than a comic book or even a story for me. It was a huge part of my adolescence, and so many of the things that I do in my storytelling, non-linear storytelling with flashbacks, mystery, the mixing of sci-fi and deep dives into the complex psychology that makes people do what they do. All of that came from Watchmen. Yeah. And so I've really been stealing from it for the majority of my career. And so when I was given the opportunity a couple of times to bring it to the small screen, I said no because I was terrified. I could never do it justice. And the third time that they asked me, I closed my eyes and I said, I don't know if I could ever imagine someone else doing this without feeling this pang of, what did you say no because you were scared? And anything that I've ever done in my life that turned out well started from a place of complete and utter fear. So I'm in that place now. And I'm eager to see what everybody has to make of it, but I just hope that I did this thing justice. The less it feels like it's mine, the better I feel about it, and these incredible actors that are sitting here with me, in addition to the writers and the producers and the directors who brought this thing to life. We all loved it so much. We all made it with incredible care and reverence, but hopefully we made something new at the same time, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's just so funny that you mentioned that you've been, quote unquote stealing, but like when I found out you were doing this, I was like, that's a perfect fit because so much of this story's DNA has been peppered throughout all your other projects. And so I was very excited too. I know you just said you don't want to hear that it's yours. It makes you feel worried and scared, but this is very much yours, I think. And you've done a great job, a beautiful job. That old, all my training has led to this moment kind of feeling when I watch it. Nicole, You guys have worked together a little bit on The Leftovers before, and as I was saying back there, some of my favorite television shows as well. Talk about coming into a story and a show of this scale, and what's been different for you working on Watchmen versus some of the stuff you've worked on in the past.
It's been, the difference is scale. You
Yeah.
know, I've definitely never done anything of this size, and I'm not alone in that, which was exhilarating. As a director, it was just candy, just every scene being so different, all these different worlds. And really, I came to it because of this guy. Yeah. You know, I hadn't read the book. I just finally, I knew he was working on it. I bought the book. I didn't read it. I knew he was getting close to looking for a director, and I finally just called and said, I want my hat in the ring. Yeah. And I got in the ring and read the script, and it just astonished me. And
You've got quite a hat, I must say. It's got a big feather in it.
Meow. So I went for it, and then once we started working on it, then I did a deep dive on the source and really wanted to pay homage to it visually because, you know, story-wise, Damon was taking care of that, and I just, you know, really used it as inspiration for camera shots and angles and transitions.
Yeah, you can feel that. It's infused throughout. It's beautifully done. You mentioned, you know, working with an incredible team, and you do have anybody on this stage's cast is a dream get. Like, it is an amazing cast. Everyone here and in the show as well that's not here today. Regina, let's start with you. I imagine, again, I can say this for a lot of people on this stage, but I know for a fact after you won all the awards, literally, congratulations on winning every award. Keep going. We've got to get you like a Grammy and a Tony. That's it, right? And then you're there.
I gotta work on that one.
Yeah, we're gonna make that happen next. But you especially, I would imagine you're at a position where you can do whatever you want next. You've reached that point where it's like, well, whatever Regina wants to do, she could do. That's it. Everybody wants to work with Regina. What was it about Angela that you were like, well, this is what I want to do? What brought you here?
Well, I'm gonna be 100% honest. It was Damon.
Yeah.
You know, my experience on Leftovers. You know, I got a chance to not only get an opportunity to work with someone that I thought was super talented. I got the opportunity as an actor. You know, when we go into things, one of the biggest things for us is trust, and the creator, the writer, the directors creating a situation that we feel safe in. Yeah. And I got to have that experience on Leftovers, so I already knew the way Damon worked. And so when he called, before I even read the script, I was kind of like, well, yeah, you know, it's Damon. And I read the script, and I was just blown away that in just the pilot, he was able to, like, do this gumbo of genres. Yeah. You know, it's like we have true historical moments happening in our show while we're set in an alternate history, while we have a bit of humor, while we have sci-fi, while we have a bit of romance, we have the family aspect, and just all of that was just in 60+ pages, and I'm like, wow, yeah. And you want me? Oh. You know, so I just, he reached out, and I could not play this woman. And also, I'd never seen her before. I've never seen her on television before. I've never seen someone who wears a few different masks just in the first episode. You guys will see. Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the rom-com, we write the main character of the pilot end of the series and of the season is Angela Abar. She's 40-year-old African-American woman, and everyone's like, so it's gonna be Regina, right? And I was like, first off, Regina is a director, she's a producer, she's won 7,000 Emmys, yeah. She's about to win an Oscar for Barry's movie. She doesn't do TV shows anymore. We gotta, you know, we have to sort of expand our net, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But meanwhile, we're starting to talk about the show, and in the writer's room, every time instead of the character's name is Angela, I kept saying Regina over and over again. People were finally like, call her. It's like, what if she says no? And they're like, you just have to try. So, from our perspective, and certainly from my perspective, the same thing. And if you had said no, I don't think any of us would be sitting on this stage right now. We're so honored to have you as number one on the call sheet.
That's an amazingly sweet story. So many amazing stories behind the show. Just even in the process of coming together, and you were telling me about the first time you saw your costume and things of that nature, and the first reveal, the artist rendering. I want to come back to that, but I'm going to jump back to Tim for a second, because speaking of amazing costumes, I was looking at some early fan reaction to the trailer, and your costume is pulling ahead as a fan favorite really early on. People are really responding, and I'm wondering what it was like the first time you jumped into
It's just because they see themselves reflected in his mask.
I was going to say it's because they see as little of me as any other.
What was it like the first time you put it on and saw yourself as Looking Glass?
Well, I initially obviously imagined it when I read the pilot, and Damon and Tom Spezialy asked me if I wanted to come on board. And I was really intrigued by that level of opacity in a character, just that not only does his mask actually cover his face, but it takes it a step further and blasts the image of the person looking at him back at that person. Yeah. And I was really intrigued at that level of concealment. Yeah. And the demands that it puts on an actor in terms of losing the face and having only the voice and the body. Right. And being hobbled in that way was a really interesting challenge. And like everyone up here, it's just great to put your trust in Damon Lindelof and know that he's going to wend his way to some pretty incredible storytelling, and you're going to get to be a part of that.
Yeah. Sorry, Damon. Everybody keeps saying it's your show, man. I don't know.
Incredibly uncomfortable. I also want to say that after we cast him, he said, do you know where I'm from, right? And we said, I said, no, I have no idea. And he said, Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where the show is set. Yeah. And that's, it's not Los Angeles, California. It's a small world. So it felt like it was meant to be. And he knows a lot about Tulsa, which kind of kept it real.
And why'd you guys go with Tulsa? Why'd you land in a rural setting versus what we've typically seen before in a show with people in costumes?
One of the things that really struck me about Watchmen when I first read it was that it was set in New York, and I think that particularly in the DC comic books world, there's Gotham City and there's Metropolis. New York doesn't even exist. Right. That lends it to a level of reality. But the other thing is, it just feels like all the superheroes just avoid all the other cities, and I felt bad for them, and I was also like, I just think that it might be more interesting, particularly with what we're dealing with, to start to think of a story like this set in a non-metropolis-y urban area, and then that sort of combined with, I read in the Atlantic magazine, Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote an article called "The Case for Reparations," which I implore everybody to read, and it completely and totally educated me and changed a lot of my perspective on the way our country was founded. And in that article, he mentioned the massacre of Black Wall Street in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm not going to go through all the mechanics of it now. The show dramatizes this event, but a very long and involved story made short is this burg called Greenwood, an area of Tulsa, was completely and totally decimated by the white citizenry of Tulsa. It was a place where African Americans owned their own businesses and were really prospering. And within the space of 12 hours, it was completely destroyed, and hundreds of people were violently murdered. And I'd never heard about this story before. And I just felt like when I read it, it felt both tragic. I was embarrassed that I didn't know anything about it, but for someone who was basically born and bred on comic books and myth, the idea of this trauma being an origin story for a character, it felt like Krypton to me. Yeah. And I started to wonder if there was a way to take that story and tell it in a piece of popular culture entertainment, and Watchmen felt like a very natural fit because it deals with actual history.
Yeah, and you work with that a lot. That's what sets, I think, this show apart from other. I don't even want to call it a superhero show, but shows where people wear costumes, is we're examining that trauma and what that effect has on people and how they handle that trauma and what that leads to, and do they put on a mask? Is that trauma why they put on a mask? There's just a lot of really interesting things that you explore here within this show that I could spend a whole hour just talking to you about that. But I want to make sure.
We want people to watch the show, though. Watchmen, it's about trauma.
No, but that's a layer. That's a nuance. In the same way that
it's really sad.
The same way that the graphic novel would balance between those different genres and give you all these different stories in one space. You're doing that on this show as well. But let's pivot slightly because I want to make sure we talk to everybody a little bit. Jeremy, Mr. Irons, keep me honest here. I could be wrong, but everyone in this show is fantastic. But I'm fairly certain you're having the most fun with your character on this show. Is that true? Am I reading that right? It looks like you're enjoying yourself.
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I mean, from the moment I first met Damon at a lunch where he talked for about an hour and a half, non-stop. And I sat there thinking, is it because I'm British that I can't understand a word he's saying? I don't know what it's. But the energy that poured off him and the enthusiasm that poured out of him, I thought, this is something. This is really something. I want to throw my hat in the ring, as you said, and or you said. And then we went off and had a lot of fun. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't see much of this lot, but I got to ride a horse, which I'm always happy with.
Oh, I love the horse.
And work with Nikki, and she was long-suffering, and it was a delight. What are you laughing about? It was a
You did
delight.
a bit more than ride a horse. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all we're willing to divulge at this
I was
point.
gonna say,
Yes.
well, that's even you guys are having a lot of fun. Even just like the marketing's a little cheeky. I saw a poster for Comic-Con, and it lists Jeremy as probably who you think he is, which I thought was a really funny way and a quick nod. Are we?
But that's terrible, because when you get to my age, you could never remember the name of the character you're playing, and so you always look. What was it? Who do you think he is? Who did I think? It's not helpful. It's not helpful.
Are you saving a reveal for this weekend, or are we going to have to wait to see the show to see if he's exactly who we think he is?
I think that he's probably who you think he is.
Fair enough.
We don't want to. We want everyone to enjoy the show. The show will reveal who he is in due time. Hopefully, right at the point of complete and utter. I've learned a bit over time about when people are completely and utterly frustrated, and I try to reveal things before they want to murder me. So yes, so we got out ahead of it this time. But again, I would say nothing will inhibit you from enjoying Mr. Irons' performance beforehand.
Nothing could possibly
it is vicariously delightful in every way.
Fair enough. Someone who we know who they are. Jean, your character. It's revealed we know that you play a character who is a little bit of connective tissue to the original text. Did that factor in at all to how you prepared for the role? Were you familiar with the original graphic novel? Did you bone up knowing that you were in a way kind of carrying a little bit of that legacy with you with your character?
I was not familiar with the graphic novel at all before Damon offered me the part. And it was, we didn't have a lot of time between that and when we started shooting, so I wasn't able to read the whole book. But, and certainly there's a pressure there of
You've got the kids as well, haven't you? I mean, it takes a bit.
I do. I have two
Yeah.
children. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
He's my
Well, you don't get much time to read, I know.
my publicist.
Yeah.
But there was so much there in that first introductory character of Laurie that I didn't really need much else at that point, And obviously, since then, I've been reading the book. I still go back to the book. I was looking at it on the plane last night, going, "Now, who did that again? And who said that? And what year was that?" And But also too, it's been 30 years, so thank God. Otherwise, they wouldn't have cast me. That's for sure.
I would put you.
It's very interesting you might say that, because I watched something the other night.
They actually offered you this part first.
Wait, where you look at a statue, I think, of me or something, and you say, God, he looks so old.
I know.
I mean, I was so
seriously
upset.
in that scene. Wait, did I not? Wait, you were there.
It's the
You were there.
statue
Did
that
I,
looks old.
Did I
Not
not
you.
say? Did I not say when I meet Jeremy Irons, he's going to kill me for that line? Did I not say that?
did, it's true.
Well,
There you go.
we'll talk about it.
I would just like to say that line was completely and totally ad-libbed.
Yeah, yes.
Not,
I can believe
not
that.
written.
I can believe
She
that.
came up with it on the... No.
Yeah.
We take full responsibility for that.
Just me under the bus.
No.
Here he is.
We did it.
Backing it up.
We did it. It's
I
our
was just
fault.
glad that they didn't make me wear that outfit from the graphic novel. That was all I was grateful for. Yeah.
Doesn't leave a lot to the imagination, does it?
No.
For those of you who don't know, Silk Spectre, and she wears a sort of,
you say it.
you know what like Borat wears? You know, like the green. It's sort of like it's like that, but yellow.
Did you send her the same
I was
artist rendering
immensely
you sent
disappointed.
Regina? Is that-
Exactly. I just sent her the movie Borat and said it's this, but yellow. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my
That's
God.
what we're going for.
Yeah. Right.
I would put you at a close second, I'd say, to Jeremy's character in terms of having fun with your character and just the snarkiness and the
I had a
badassness that you
blast.
bring. Yeah, it
I
looks
get to
like some
insult
fun.
people and point guns at them, and what could be better?
That's it. That's the life.
She is the comedian's daughter.
Yeah, there you go, for sure. Hong, real quick, I mentioned this backstage that your performance in the episode I saw is exquisitely creepy and very unsettling. And Hong goes, "That's great. I love when people tell me I'm creepy." And I said, to clarify, not you as a person. I think you're wonderful, but this character, you're knocking it out of the park. This is your third HBO show, I believe, right? I was looking.
It is. My first HBO show was Treme, and I played a little fisherman's daughter. So this is very far from that. I've come a long way.
Well, I was saying the amazing thing is every time you've done a ton of amazing stuff, but every time you come back to HBO, you seem to be working with a team of incredible people around you. Do you ever try to leverage that in any way and make sure, I got to work, but while I'm here, I need to learn as well? Because I have so many amazing people around me right now.
Yeah, I did. The very first time I met Damon, I actually told him, after he told me about the whole story and Lady True, her whole arc, I was
like, come back.
I was very overwhelmed, and I said, well, I don't know. What if I'm just terrible? What if I do a really bad job? I don't know if you actually really want me. I don't know if I can do this. So I'm glad that I took the leap and got to play with all of these amazing people.
That's something I find that I hear a lot of from guests on the show is that when they have an opportunity that they're excited about it, but everyone's typically afraid of what if I mess this up? And I hear that at every level, like no matter how long someone's been around or if they're just starting out, it's like a new fear that everybody, it's like consistently across the board, everyone needs someone to be their cheerleader because they're all like, I don't know if I could do this. But you all tend to pull it off. I'll say that. It's very interesting.
Which is crazy because everybody on this stage, without exception, Jeremy I'd never heard of.
New fresh face, new talent.
Yeah.
Kids going places.
What is this guy, like a theater actor?
Yeah.
Very good.
Have you seen him ride a horse?
He's
'Cause
very good.
Yeah.
I'd seen in something that completely and totally struck me and stayed with me. And as a writer, you're always like, I can't wait to work for that person. And when you write a character, you have sort of someone in the back of your mind who's going to be your dream casting, but you have to open yourself up to other possibilities, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not just saying this because I'm sitting here with them, but it's literally like
But you asked me
cast.
to do this about 3 days before we started shooting. You
That's
must
true.
have had someone drop out.
Oh my God.
You must have done.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stellan Skarsgård was like, I'm doing Chernobyl. Yeah. Not remotely.
There we go.
Not
the
remotely.
truthful out.
But for Hong, for example, I'd obviously seen her in Downsizing. She's incredible, nominated for everything. But I saw her in something called Forever, which is this incredible TV show that not a lot of people have seen. And it's Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen are the leads of it. But there was one episode where Hong was actually, along with another actor, they carried the entire episode, the two of them. And I was just like, oh my God, that's just extraordinary. I have to work with this person. And so fortunately, she said, I think from their perspective, there's this question of are they going to be good? And from my perspective, it's like, oh my God, I have to beg them to get into this because they're already amazing. I have to write something that's worthy of these actors.
Yeah. There's a moment, I don't know if it's in episode 1 or 2, but Angela tosses Cal a gun and gives him very specific instructions. And the man doesn't blink, he doesn't flinch, he knows exactly what to do.
And he says, okay.
He says, okay. And the relationship between those two, there is so much trust, and there's so much more that I'm excited to find out or know about. I'm curious for you, other than the opportunity to work with Regina, what was it about that relationship that you were excited to jump into and play with Cal and Angela?
Well, with Cal, I was really excited to play a husband who was, who was supportive. I was excited to step into something that was my idea of what a really good husband could be, a friend, a lover, a supporter. Cal in the first couple episodes and throughout, he'll say okay a couple of times. He'll get instructions and he'll say okay, and he'll learn about some type of situation that Angela has to tend to, and he'll say okay, and gradually that okay will become okay, and okay, and we'll it's fun to see how much this guy can be loving, and then how he experiences patience and friendship, and it was a whole lot of fun leading in with Regina and building that. She made it very, very easy to create that partnership.
Yeah, for sure. There are. There's a million things I haven't even had time to. The Trent Reznor and Attica Ross. The score is amazing. The show looks amazing. We did talk about Jeremy on a Horse, so I'm glad we got to that. But I do want to make sure we leave time for the audience questions. We have a ton. I have at least 4 that I want to get to. So we're going to go to the first question right now. You have a microphone. It is your time. Go right ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maggie. First of all, to see 4 women up on stage, both in front and behind a camera, amazing. I know the story takes place in an alternative 2019 with everything that's happening politically and socially. Sometimes we wish we lived in an alternative 2019. What would your look like? Anybody in the cast can answer.
Oh my God.
Well, we wouldn't have this climate issue. I'll play it safe.
Well done.
Dang, climate. Yeah.
Anyone else want to dive right in there?
I'd have to say the climate.
Yeah.
And I think we should spread out the cash a bit.
Fair enough.
That's a good one.
Good question. Good question. Great answers.
You can see, we were all like, ooh, yeah. That one right there, that was a little too good.
It's probably what you think they want to change. Kate, we got a couple more questions in the room. You've got a microphone. The next one, it appears to be you, sir.
Hi, this question is specifically for Regina, Jeremy, and Jean, since I'm more familiar with your careers and everybody else. Which is your favorite venue to work in? Because you've done movies, you've done plays, Jeremy's done voiceovers. Which would be your favorite and which would also be the most difficult? And I have to acknowledge Jeremy's performance in Dead Ringers. I've never seen anything more astonishing in my life.
Amazing.
Just incredible.
I find them all equally interesting and equally hard. And I love doing them all. It all comes from the same place, which is sort of here. And you just have to project in a slightly different way depending which medium you're working in. And I like to flip around to get the contrast. But what about you?
I kind of mirror what you feel. I mean, if I was the voiceover, there's no makeup and hair involved.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like if you want to just brush your teeth and roll on into work, you can do that. So that's the only thing, I guess, that may trump the other two. But
Don't go there, Regina. Don't say it. Don't say it.
But no, I mean, there is such a, because I also get asked the question, which you too as well, is TV over film. And it's, at the end of the day, it's great storytelling. That's what motivates, I think, any of us on this stage to play a role.
The thing about theater that doesn't compare to the other two, is that that immediate audience feedback is just amazing. You know, I remember I was doing a TV show once, and the director wanted me to pick up my cue, and I said, "I'm holding for the laugh." On TV, and I was sort of half kidding. She laughed, and I said, "But seriously, I mean, if people are at home and you do it right and they laugh, they're not going to hear the next line. But you can't. The problem is you can't have that kind of timing, especially when you're doing a comedy. But that audience feedback is pretty amazing."
I just want to quickly say one thing to you, sir, which is when I was 15 years old, I worked at the Route 4 Cineplex Odeon 10plex in Paramus, New Jersey. It was one of my first jobs, and Dead Ringers came out, and I sat and I watched that movie start to finish, and I was like, both of those guys are the greatest actor I've ever seen. Just like, it must have been so competitive for them, and I'm just glad that someone finally wrote a movie for these twins. So I'm a complete and utter idiot, and this man is a genius. So I'm with you on that. That's a true story. And Stellan Skarsgård could not do that. Fuck that guy.
But somebody did go to my agent and say, Jeremy was very good, but where did you find the other guy?
Did they really?
They really did, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. That makes me feel a little better.
Just a little bit. We got time for two more. That's perfect. Let's go to the next one. Right here, you have a microphone.
Hey to everyone. My question is actually for Regina. I sat behind you at the Black Girls Rock Award show, and I just want to say you were truly inspirational with everything you were saying about someone else, but I want you to know that you deserve recognition too, so thank you for everything that you do. My question is, you inspire so many people. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh, man, from everywhere. I mean, just here, in this moment. Every single moment in life, I think, is an opportunity to learn about yourself, to learn what's not so great about yourself, and where you can improve, and where you don't want to go.
Don't change the legs.
Don't change the legs. No. The gams can stay.
Keep them there fine.
Yeah. No, I'm pulling. I mean, just the other day, last night before I went to sleep, I just saw Simone Biles and her floor exercises and that made me just like, I couldn't go to sleep. I was like, yeah, I gotta do better. I gotta work harder, you know. So I can't just say one place. I have incredible women, incredible collaborators, and I get something from everything that I do or that I'm a part of, or any space the universe puts me in. I'm pulling from it.
There's a comfort in the idea of Regina King and I being like, I gotta do better. It's like, wait, what? I gotta do better. You're good. Don't worry, Regina. I got time. I can do one more. I'd love to do one more question. Let's go right here.
Thank you. This is from Ms. Smart. I loved you as Martha Logan on 24, and I refuse to believe that you ad-libbed that line. No, ma'am.
Which line?
About Mr. Irons being old. The one that Damon.
Thank you. I didn't.
I was lying. It's true. Thank you, sir. I lied.
She's a wonderful actress, but as a person, she's a little bit.
What I wanted to ask you is, what attracted you to this part? You've been doing a lot of genre roles lately, between Legion, which is based on X-Men, and now Watchmen. What attracted you to this part?
Well, this character was irresistible to me. I mean, she just, you know, somebody who has that much of a smart-ass kind of sense of humor, who thinks she's got everything under control, is obviously, you know, covering up a lot of insecurity. But it was great fun. I mean, that opening episode just had everything. It had everything. And I had never really played a character like that, and the idea of being offered at this stage of my career, being offered a badass FBI agent role was kind of tickled my fancy. So I couldn't say no.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad all of you said
So
yes.
glad she
And I'm
did.
glad you guys made this
Same
thing
here.
because it is fantastic. And I'm so excited for the rest of the world to see it so I can talk to somebody about it. But we got to wait until October 20th. Now, if you guys happen to be in New York this Friday at Comic-Con, you're going to be on the main stage doing a panel there as well. So definitely go and check them out. But otherwise, for everybody else not in New York, October 20th, that's the day. Mark it in your calendars and get ready to have your mind blown and have a really good time with this show. I got to wrap things up, but I had a blast. Thank you so much, every one of you, for coming to hang out with us.
Thanks, guys.
Keep doing that
Thank you.
for Damon, Nicole, Regina, Yahya, Jeremy, Tim, Hong, and Jean. Creators and cast of Watchmen, everybody. Do it up.